It's not getting in.
The Good Times with Good People Company proudly present the Loft Party Podcast. I'm your host, Rio, and of course, we're all about good people, good times, and good talk. Today on the panel, we've got some returning guests, Dave Tiemann and Chris O'Connor, and the infamous anonymous female. So I think we're going to jump right in this week. I know last week during the shuffle, we learned that Dave has no playlist, and but he was more than happy to comment on everybody else's. We heard that if you hit shuffle on Chris's phone, Jay-Z will pop to the top. Mark Church, who was here with us last week, secretly is into very underground hip-hop because he was listening to Earl Sweatshirt. And, of course, as I was last week, I'm recording on my phone, so I won't be shuffling this week. But that won't stop me from talking about whatever needs to get talked about. Did we have anybody else drop out of the race this week? I mean, I know we're only down to 2 people on the Democratic side, but on the Republican side, did anybody else drop out?
No,
I don't believe so.
I dropped out.
Yeah, so we're down to a solid 4.
Is
Right?
Ben Carson introducing Trump? Was that this week? Endorsing him? Or was that last week?
He endorsed him last week, but he was on the radio, on TV this morning, talking about how he thinks Trump's going to be a great saving grace.
Yeah, I not to get into what I think about any particular candidate, but I did think it was interesting. All of the craziness that was going on with the Trump rallies this past week, it was kind of nuts because the Chicago rally got shut completely down. They didn't even wind up holding it because it didn't look like it was going to be I guess safe for Trump, and
That's the least of my words.
yeah, kind of the least. And then Kansas City's rally wound up having 4 arrests, and what I thought was a little much. They were pepper spraying people, and because I guess he had a fair amount of protesters out there. I can't even remember the exact number, but it was, and I think that rally was at the Midland. What they were doing is giving them warnings, and if they didn't back up or whatever they were asking them to do, then they were gonna spray them. And I just didn't think pulling out the spray was a necessary evil, for any of it. But hey,
It always seems like a move that might incite people more than deter people. And maybe in this particular
it's
case,
kind of what I was thinking. I'm like, if people are assuming that the Trump rallies are getting out of hand and violent, then to respond to the protesters with violence seems like a badass idea. It just doesn't seem like it. It's just counterintuitive and counterproductive.
I guess I don't know what the other option would be. Not being a cop, I don't know how much latitude you can give. What can you do? There's got to be at some point that somebody's, not always a giant fan of cops, but if you're going to be down at a protest that has the potential of becoming violent, and you got to keep law and order. I don't know how much latitude you give before you take a measure like that.
Yeah, that just seems.
But I don't know. There's got to be some reason for it, since they only did it to 4 people, but I had no idea.
Well, they only arrested 4, but they
arrested
pepper
4.
sprayed quite a large group. But at the same time, I also, they have the lawful right to be there and to protest.
You have a lawful right to lawfully protest.
Yes. But within certain lawful boundaries.
Right.
And what I had heard, and Ryan was down there, and he was walking his dog, and he said the protesters were constantly going across the line and actually were out on the street, and they were, and there was a lot of screaming and yelling going across the street from each one.
Yeah,
And it
okay.
had the potential to probably be, if the police wouldn't have been there, it'd been
To turn bad.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And he said he was actually kind of, it was scary.
Imagine that in Chicago. I mean,
That was-
Chicago would be that times 10.
Yeah, exactly. In which I know that's the reason they called off the Chicago rally, because it would have gotten out of hand fast, because things tend to get out of hand fast in Chicago anyway.
So we have an office in Chicago, and I was hearing from all of my friends. It was not far from where his rally was supposed to be, and they had at least 6 to 10 black helicopters flying over the city all day long, checking stuff out, like trying to keep an eye out for people, and just said it was crazy.
Yeah.
Said it was absolutely crazy.
And then also I heard that the police had warned him several times to stay behind the boundaries, the lines,
Right.
and just, say what you want, do what you want.
Right.
Don't be coming across the street, out in the street, and that's where the problems start.
Okay.
But again, I would not defend Trump on this either. I think he goes out of his way to incite moments like this.
Well, and I think that's the real problem. It's not that. I don't think he's creating this problem, but he's definitely inciting it. He's definitely stoking the fire that he knows is there.
Yeah. You're still responsible if you run out on the street, I get it. But boy, the way he is ratcheting up just nonsense talk,
Yeah.
I can see inciting a lot of people to do some pretty crazy things.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. Too heavy for a podcast, at least for this one. So let's get to the first question of the day. What are we drinking?
Well, I'm drinking a Rieger vodka, club soda, squeeze a lemon. Very refreshing, nice summery drink on a 76-degree March day in Kansas City.
Speaking of which, the weather is bananas right now. This is just amazing right now.
It's been beautiful.
Yeah. And what about you, Chris?
I'm having what's called a Pendergast, which is basically a twist on a Manhattan, and I'm had it made with Rieger whiskey, and it has is it Benedictine? That's the shot that normally goes into it. So yeah, that's kind of why it's a twist on a Manhattan.
All right. I'm going with an old standby today. I'm doing Four Roses bourbon and tonic. A few ice cubes in there. Like I say, nice, easy, refreshing. And that is what we're drinking. Speaking of which,
We'll toast.
we will toast.
Cheers to that.
We like drinks.
And to the anonymous female.
I'm drinking water today.
The anonymous female has been extra healthy today. She actually worked out twice today.
Wow.
Like I feel real slovenly. But hey, it is what it is. Hey, what are we smoking?
I'm smoking an Oliva Sun Grown. I bought them from. I get my cigars mainly from Thompson. They had a great deal on there about I don't know. It's just a wonderful, and it slow burns, mild pull, wonderful cigar, great smoke.
I'm having a Romeo y Julieta for sure, but I don't know which variety it is. It's a special variety. Oh, small batch F25.
Oh, those are nice. Those are nice.
I like it.
Yeah. You know what? Actually, I have not chosen a smoke today, except we'll probably have something from the newest of ports. A Newport cigarette. That's probably what I will have because I didn't pick a cigar today.
Good title.
I want to thank our friends of the podcast. I want to thank Rieger Whiskey again. I want to thank the Majestic for restaurant for having us today. This is where we're recording the podcast today. Incidentally, that is where the cigar club that we belong to is located. It's on the top floor of the Majestic restaurant in Kansas City, and it is kind of our little private little gem because it is a members only club, and yes, membership has its privileges.
You get a members only jacket with it. Sweet.
I was waiting for someone to say it.
About to say, obviously we're the last members if we're wearing the members only jackets. You know, today I did not get as much of a chance as I normally do to kind of look at pop culture stuff. I saw this report that like Suge Knight had been killed, and but I can't find any proof of it, so I don't want to get too deep off into whether or not he is killed or should have been killed or whatever. Except to say, he is, as far as I know, he is still in jail, and that's all right with me. So. You know what? It's one thing that I did want to talk about, and that is coming up sooner than later. On April 16th is Record Store Day. For those of you out there who don't know what Record Store Day is, there's either new pressings or re-release pressings of vinyl on that day. Anybody out there that is into vinyl in particularly, or a DJ, this is the day designed for you. You're gonna love it. There's gonna be such titles as Aha is gonna get pressed. Justin Bieber's last album, the latest album, Purpose, is gonna get pressed. For some of the more serious hip hop fans like myself, you'll probably be really happy to know that the DOC's No One Can Do a Better album, his only album that Dr. Dre produced while NWA was still together, is gonna get released on vinyl, and there's the legendary hip hop producer Jay Dilla. They're releasing Jay Dilla's The Diary on vinyl. Those kind of caught my eye. A couple other things that caught my eye is we talked about Lil Wayne last week, and they're actually releasing the Carter 1 and the Carter 2 on vinyl. I thought that was interesting. This new kid, I think it might be his second project, second actual label project. A kid called Logic, signed to Def Jam. He's an interesting kid because he's a mixed kid, but he straight looks like a white kid, just incredible. Like, you know, for all of you out there who like think like Kendrick Lamar or maybe Lupe Fiasco or somebody like that has an incredible flow, incredible delivery. Logic is kind of in that vein. Just an incredible incredible delivery, and it kind of a unique take, because by looking at him you wouldn't think that some of the stories, some of the things that he has to say, but apparently he's had some serious family things going on. Something that caught my eye, actually, side story. I noticed that Guar, yeah, exactly. Guar's got an album that's getting released on vinyl. A quick side story. I lived in Seattle for 3 years, right? So I'm going to school for music business, and one of my instructors for show and touring. So, because she was a booker for this club in Seattle called the Rock Candy that was actually owned by, I want to say, lead singer Soundgarden. Anyway.
Chris Cornell?
Yeah, Chris Cornell. So, and her name, greatest name ever, she needed her own rock band just because her name was awesome. Her name was Lori Lefevre. And
sure it was.
So yeah, I don't know what her name was, but she went by Lori Lefevre, and so everybody kind of in the school knew that I was kind of the hip hop guy, that you went to, and so Lori came to somebody she knew that was an instructor there at the time, and was asking about if we've got a hip hop project and we want to promote it. Do you have any kids that are good? And they were like, well, only one name comes to top of mind, and ask him, and then he'll put you on to anybody else you need to know. So, kind of the cool thing was, I got a job out of it promoting for 2 or 3 of the theaters in town. So it was the 2,000 and 3,000 seat theaters, and I promoted a Chris Rock concert, Eddie Griffith concert. I promoted this. I think it was called Jammin'. I think it was called Jam on It. I think it was called, but it was like a hip hop dance musical thing. And either way it goes, I had real good success promoting those shows. And Lori asked maybe if we could partner up, do something hip hop at Chris Cornell's spot, which actually never materialized, but I did wind up working over there, just doing whatever for a little while, until the night they booked Guar, which is where our story.
Good night to Levi.
So I show up to work, and trust me, I'm the only black person in about a 6-block radius to a Guar concert. No, I take it back. There was one insane black kid. He was just nutbags. And he was actually going to the Guar show. And then there was me. And Lori said very politely, why don't you stay in the office and do office work today? I'll go out front. Because there was enough of us. And me being the only black kid, she thought for my safety, it was probably a good idea. And so I rethought working at a rock club, not because I had a problem with it, but for my safety. I don't want to work any more Guar shows.
That is a legitimate one. That's just a bunch of angry, starving kids for no reason.
For no good reason.
You got a lot of good things going in your life, and you're mad.
Yeah,
and
buddy.
a bunch of dudes in funny costumes just yell for 2 hours. That seems horrible to me.
It was rough, and it was and the rock candy wasn't even that big, so it held about 300 to 400 standing.
Okay.
And so I mean it was big enough, but standing room in a show like that, it could only go bad if there was one reason for it to go bad.
Right.
And so I removed myself from it. A couple of standouts, record store day, now that I'm kind of thinking about it, I noticed some singles that were coming out on vinyl. Outkast's Elevators, Me and You, Your Mama and Your Cousin Too, Old Dirty Bastards, Brooklyn Zoo, and Shimmy Shimmy Ya. Personally, and I know there's a whole lot of hip hoppers out there that would disagree with me all day about who was their favorite in the Wu-Tang Clan. Old Dirty Bastard was my favorite in Wu-Tang Clan. I loved Old Dirty Bastard. His music was just fun. It had a crazy amount of energy. And also I noticed Notorious B.I.G.'s More Money, More Problems is going to be on vinyl. Speaking of which, March 9th was kind of National Biggie Day because he died on March 9th. So here at the Loft Party Podcast, we want to pay our respects to Biggie. And with that, we all say Biggie.
Biggie.
There we go. So, anybody else have anything that they kind of noticed from the week that they wanted to bring up?
I think the thing that's weird about this list is how there's a massive amount of variety when I never thought in the vinyl scene there was this much new stuff being pressed across every genre. I mean, you have bizarre stuff from Big Star, which clearly hasn't put out records in years.
Yeah.
Then you go to Ethan Hawke has a record coming out for no reason.
What?
Wait, I missed that one.
Like the actor?
Yes.
That is crazy right there.
Flaming List. I mean, like, there's a lot of alternative bands that make sense to me, but then you get to, like, Emmylou Harris.
Huh.
I'm like, well, man, I don't know a lot of country people who buy vinyl. Which is weird. They have the Star Wars soundtrack coming out, which makes no sense to me. I'm like, who's buying that?
Yeah.
On
Yeah.
vinyl.
Yeah, on vinyl, yeah.
Reverend Horton Heat, who I love, I was super excited to see that on the list. Sex Pistols makes sense to me, so does Matthew Sweet, but then just a lot of bizarre, like country and some classical a little bit, and I don't know, it just runs the gamut when I'm looking at it.
Yeah, it really does.
Crazy. Various artists, the Silly Symphony collection by Walt Disney Records. Who on earth is buying that?
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, why?
Well,
Yeah.
how many are they pressing though? What did it say over there?
Let's see, it said 2,500.
Yeah.
I get it's not a lot, but I'm like, still, like...
I mean, still, like even the highest number that I'm seeing which is crazy, 15,000 of the Star Wars.
Yeah, I saw Metallica at 10,000.
And I guess maybe if you're a collector, you don't actually probably own a record player, you just want the...
You just want it.
Because it said it was a vinyl picture album.
Oh, okay.
And so maybe that makes a little bit of sense. But
Well, yeah, maybe.
I just find this list of things that are being put out bizarre.
Yeah, it was an odd. It had some cool stuff on it, but it was an odd list. Like I said, some of the ones that I mentioned caught my eye, and
Yeah, I mean, it's a great list. I'm actually excited to see that the wide variety of genres and artists that are reflected that are taking part in the day. Because normally it used to just be your shitty alternative bands, and some cool hip hop bands and or artists and stuff like that DJs would be interested in and things like that. But now it just seems to really run the gamut. And vinyl is the fastest growing, which is a little misleading because it was nobody has record players anymore. But it's still the fastest growing section of the music industry. And it's kind of nice to see people getting back into people of all genres getting back into vinyl.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Yep. Jimi Hendrix, smash hits, a legacy, it's a long play, so it's an album.
Yeah.
Metallica.
Brandy Carlisle, like really, like who is gonna buy that record? Like, I don't know. I have no idea.
CCR, hey look, all names I know.
See, now that makes sense to me. Like classic rock albums, I can see being re-released on vinyl.
Yeah,
Makes
yeah.
total sense.
Yeah.
Because probably
that's
a lot of people
a
sell
collector
great record
thing.
collections.
But one did catch my eye. Frankie Goes to Hollywood, the one-hit band.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, strange stuff. I mean, they're putting out the Monkees again on vinyl. I'm like, really? On purpose?
What?
Yeah, Monkees classic album collection and Saturday's Child and must be a thing. Oh, no, it's a picture disc too. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
But I thought the one that stuck out the most to me that they're doing is Husker Du.
Yeah, but I can see that. That's a classic early '90s alternative band. Didn't know they were still alive. But,
Are they?
I'm not sure.
The Monkees.
Yeah, it's very strange.
It's a unique list. Would you typically go to the store? Can you buy this online maybe, you think?
You actually can buy from Record Store Day direct, but most of it is for record stores.
For independent, stores.
Record stores and places like Urban Outfitters, because they've got actually a pretty big vinyl selection at this point. Because they started, maybe 10 years ago, having a few novelty pieces of vinyl, and now
they were selling record players.
Yeah. So now they actually really, really carry.
Well, I've noticed even around here that there are record stores popping up again.
Constantly, yeah, everywhere. It's nice.
Yeah, they all seem like they were shutting down, like 5-6 years ago, and now the last year-ish, I've been noticing them popping back up.
So, music related, but different topic. I don't know. I'm assuming you guys would probably know who he is. George Martin,
Yeah,
the Beatles producer, died last week.
Sir George Martin.
Yes.
No,
Excuse
sir.
me.
Sir.
Yes. Give him his due.
But people forget how many bands that he worked with. I mean, it's amazing. It wasn't just the Beatles, which he became the most famous for, but then he had a ton of hits beyond that. Like, I don't think most people realize he did the remake of Candle in the Wind that they did at Princess Di's funeral. He did that for Elton John. He had hits with America during the 70s. Like, he did a ton of stuff. He was a very, very classically trained musician. It was incredible. And more than that, it gets sense to put up with those four dipshits, you know?
Well, I was reading that he was with the Beatles during their high point. So
Well, he found them.
yeah.
So he worked for Parlophone Records, found them, discovered them, and said, okay, I'll give you a chance, but your songs are terrible. So he tried to get them to record other people's hits, and they insisted on recording their own. And he finally got it to where they became really good songwriters, which is kind of cool. And then I think the only album he didn't do was the one that Phil Spector redid, the Let It Be album, which was strangely recorded before their last album. I think Abbey Road was released last, wasn't it? It was released first, but it was recorded last.
Yeah, okay.
And so it was a very strange thing. But Phil Spector did Let It Be, and everything else was done by George Martin, I think, which is kind of interesting.
So he was 90 years old.
Pretty old.
Yeah.
And he had his
that was a pretty. I mean, that's a pretty
It's a
amazing
good career.
life. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing life, amazing career. Yeah, definitely. It'd be kind of crazy. People have to call you sir or whatever.
That'd be awesome. Like, it's part of your name at that point.
Yeah, well, this is true.
Pretty common thing now.
This is true.
Nobody calls me sir. I don't know what I would do if somebody ever did.
I know. It's like, I go to like the grocery store or whatever. Like, paper plastic, sir? I'm looking around like, who are you talking to?
I'm a member of the British Empire. You better be calling me sir right now.
Oh, man. I'm trying to remember, was that the Oscars? What were we watching? But I meant to ask you guys, there was this musical. Well, is this musical? It's called Hamilton, and it's it's about it's about Hamilton, one of the founding fathers,
Right,
and
Hamilton, yeah.
it's a musical, but all the dialogue is rapped.
Really?
In there in full period costume and everything. It's
hilarious.
pretty amazing. Like we were looking at TV like just in that kind of that shocked like what did I just see?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's on Broadway.
It's on Broadway now.
It's a huge hit.
Yeah, it's like what did I just witness?
Well, the story of Hamilton's life, just in general, as a historical figure, is amazing. Was one of the only founding fathers not born in America. He was born in either Trinidad or Tobago and came over here, exceptionally poor, and worked his way up and did all this, and then was an aide to Washington during the Revolutionary War. Invented the modern American banking system, which then that idiot Thomas Jefferson and Andrew Jackson immediately tried to close down because they were opposing national banks. But he paid off America's debt for one of the only times ever that we've been debt-free.
Wow.
It was incredible, but brought the country together as a country instead of 13 individual states at that point. Yeah, he had an incredible life up until probably similar to something I would do. He had a little bit of a hot head and got in a duel and got the wrong end of it.
You got the wrong end of it.
But you can still go see his grave. I think it's at Trinity Church in New York City.
Huh.
And it's really cool. It's a great place to go if you're ever there. Downtown Manhattan.
Nice.
One of my personal political heroes.
I think they're playing at the White House today.
Oh, really? Nice.
That'd be fun.
Nice. Speaking of the White House, I did see the president, and the first president to do so, went to speak at South by Southwest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Guys, I read about this today.
Yeah, he was
Trying to talk about how technology partners need to work together to advance more social issues and common goals in conjunction with the government.
Yeah. I mean, I think the guy. I think he was I want to say the editor of the paper in Austin, if I'm not mistaken. He had some kind of questions from Twitter and whatever, and I remember one of them, was about Apple, and whether
Sure.
or not he felt like you know the government should be able to.
Is overreaching.
Yeah, and and I just thought his answer was very it's kind of eloquent, because of course he can't really discuss the case directly,
Sure.
but basically he was saying that there's got to be an intersection of where the public good is being served and it's not messing with your bottom line. Now,
But that's not Apple's problem. Apple's problem is that they don't want to divulge.
well, exactly, but
Private
one of the reasons is because they don't want their phones to get hacked, and that's
Sure.
and which is
If you're
obviously a good thing that they're wanting to keep the privacy of their users, and they want to keep the integrity of their products. But I do think I think the president did have a point in that if you see somebody swerving on the highway or on the street, even if they're the only one on the street, they get pulled over, and it's not because people want to infringe on their privacy or their liberty, but you have the potential to do public harm, and so that kind of got me to thinking about why the government would be going after Apple at all, because I think originally I was just like, yeah, good for Apple, screw that, you can't have my stuff. But it did kind of get me to thinking about it, and I was curious what the panel thought about that.
I think if you're Apple and the government forces you to make backdoor loopholes to gain access to people's data, that is an equal amount of potential public harm. Because hackers are going to figure that stuff out, and it's not going to take long to do. So you're not just opening that information up to the government, you're opening it up to a bunch of crazy people who will take advantage of it, and I think that's wrong. More than that, the government can get it legally with this opinion. That's what the court fight's about. So this should be something that plays out in the court.
Yeah,
and I'm completely okay with that. And I also think Apple, from what I've read, is working on a phone that is completely unhackable, where they don't store anything on it at all, just in case this ever comes up again. They're like, screw you, we got nothing. And I'm great with that too.
We got nothing.
I'm completely fine with that, because think of all the things that you do anymore on your phone.
Yeah.
And I'm infinitely more afraid of government overreach than I am Apple not turning over information on a person that they already know is guilty and can convict anytime they want to. It's a silly argument, because the government already has more than enough evidence to convict them. And why they want the phone records and everything else is just superfluous to me.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah. I can see that. I mean, I guess what the only real reason that they would want it, I guess, would be at this point speculative. They
want it because they want to see if there were other plans in place.
Well, exactly. Sure, that's what I'm saying.
They want to try to crack a network of people, and then I get that.
Yeah.
But they already monitor everything, and if they really want to, the Patriot Act allows you to listen in on anything you want to, which is a scam in and of itself. So they have other options to get around that. Why they're going after Apple like this, I find it ridiculous, and I'm glad that they're standing up for it. At least to the point where, whether or not I think Apple's right, wrong, or indifferent, it's something I want legally decided.
Yeah, I don't think the public should decide it. I mean, just because you're upset about it, I think it's definitely something that should be decided in the court.
Sure. And just because the government asks for it doesn't make it legal. So this is where the gray area comes in, and I think probably every technology company on earth would love some definition of what can the government do and not do. Telecom companies have to go through this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
When they get asked for records and texts and all that kind of stuff, and a lot of them have to side with the government and take money from the government to provide that service. A lot of them said no, you're not going to do it. So it'll be interesting to see. But when you can get a wiretap for no reason and listen in on everybody's conversations, it always starts off really small. It always starts off small.
Yeah.
But imagine the stuff that this country has done over time. We interred every Japanese citizen we could find during World War II. And, it's always things along those lines.
Yeah.
That you make up a reason for why it's okay at the time.
At the time.
And it starts off small.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Except they weren't Japanese citizens; they were American citizens. They have to be Japanese.
Absolutely, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Absolutely, they were citizens of the United States who were of Japanese descent, and we throw them into essentially, prison camps. We don't always have the best record.
Well, I always think if the public is,
Government doesn't always have the best record.
yeah, and the public always, if it really upsets you as a member of the general public, you always have the right to not buy or use Apple products. So if it really pisses you off that bad, then just don't buy the products.
But who are you going to buy that would not cave? I mean, a phone is
Chris,
and I would say the
I'm
government.
not disagreeing with that.
Yeah, I mean, you pay a tax right now, so on every single phone bill, so that every American can have a phone. It's still part of every tax that you pay to this day. That's on every phone bill. So the government's made it a right to have a phone, but at the same time, they say if you use that phone, you're not entitled to an expectation of privacy. Well, I would completely disagree.
I agree.
With that.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. But that's where the catch-22 is. When does your right of privacy get overridden by the fact that there could be terrorist acts that could be discovered?
Sure.
So
Yeah,
but I agree. I think it should be solved in the courts and not.
Yeah, and
We're not going to solve it. That's what I know.
yeah, and that's why I like that Apple's not caving. I want to see it go into the court system.
And we don't know all the facts either. I mean,
Nobody ever will.
yeah.
Yeah, true.
Well,
Nobody ever will.
Yeah.
Whatever judge decides it. But it's just, to me, it's, again, but I thought it was really interesting this morning. Maybe it was yesterday when we were watching the news and they were talking about, now they may go ahead and approve his
Oh, yeah, because
his nomination because they're afraid that Hillary's going to get, going to be voted into the presidency, and they think it's going to be even worse if she
Yeah.
nominates
Like,
someone.
he'll
So they're
actually
looking at the
do it
lesser of
to-
two evils in their mind.
yeah, he'll actually put somebody in pragmatic in their mind, and Hillary may,
He's a constitutional lawyer.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think he would probably pick somebody who would probably more liberally interpret the Constitution, but right now it's a 5-4 strict constitutional court.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that I would mind somebody who more liberally interprets the Constitution and see how it goes.
Yeah.
And there's always swing votes on every side. It's stunning who votes for what.
For
really
what,
when it comes down to it.
depending
And
on-
I'll give the classic example in my mind is John Roberts, the Republican appointee, casting the swing vote to say Obamacare was a tax, and that's why it was passed, so it's a constitutional law.
Yeah.
When everybody thought he would deny it.
Yeah.
So you never know. how
You
people
really
are gonna
do
vote.
never
It's
know.
Very, very, very interesting.
So I'm glad you brought the rabbit hole up.
No, that's an interesting one. It's a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely different rabbit hole. Has anybody started binge watching something else political on Netflix? New season of House of Cards started.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, we only got 2 episodes in, and it was.
But let me tell you, if we hadn't started watching it on a weeknight with other stuff to do, we probably would have watched the whole series. Because
Yeah.
it was already,
I did watch the first season of.
it picks up right where it left off, and
Like almost
and
exactly, yeah.
gloves are off.
That's
So
awesome.
Yeah,
I'm dying to
yeah.
see this.
Amazon just put out season 2 of Bosch, which I was talking about last week a little bit, but it's an LA detective series, very gritty, very good, and so season 2's on Amazon now.
I love the battle between Netflix and Amazon. I think it's
Yeah.
actually creating amazing programming.
It is.
And they're both really stepping up their games and making high dollar, high value, good, interesting shows that networks would never touch.
Yeah.
I love that.
I'm excited for the next season of Daredevil to come out.
I am
It
too.
Oh,
starts-
absolutely.
It starts this weekend. So.
Does it?
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and I
I
thought-
shouldn't say starts. The whole. I mean, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's Netflix. So
And I
it'll all
thought
be
they
out there.
finally released a date for Luke Cage, but I actually wasn't paying attention when.
I know it was April, but I don't know if they actually. Let's just check.
Okay. I say anonymous female is going to do the Google. And
You are a tech wizard by far.
I'm not doing Google. I'm doing IMDb.
Wow.
Oh, they moved it back. It's now September 30th.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Must have been production
Alright.
problems.
Okay. But I say, so let us, those of us who can, get our phones ready because it's time for my favorite section of the show called The Shuffle, everybody. And of course, The Shuffle is where you go on your phone, you pick a playlist.
Are you doing it this week?
I don't know. Let's see what I got. If anything.
You go on your phone, you pick a playlist, you hit shuffle, and the first song that comes to the top, we discuss it as a group, and we will see who knows what about what, who has opinions about what, who has facts about, said recording that maybe other people didn't have.
Are you on one?
But it's always pretty fun.
So
Well, I have a lot of
here's
songs
mine.
down.
And I think the anonymous female. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, tell me, mirror, what is wrong? Can it be my daylight clothes or is it just my daylight?
I'm currently doing my happy dance, ladies and gentlemen, as the anonymous female shuffle brought up De La Soul's Me, Myself, and I. One of my favorite rap records of all time. I've got in fact, I remember the exact first time I heard that record. I was listening to, I'm originally from Chicago, and I'm listening to the radio, and the DJ was in the mix. It was at night, and they put on the Me, Myself, and I remember it just seemed like the record was just getting euphoric, and it was just building and building. And then when it got to the end, for all you DJ fans out there, when you hit the stop button on the turntable while the record's playing, it's and they did that on the radio, and I was like, oh! I just remember thinking, I love this record. And of course, it took me like a month to actually find a copy of the album, and yeah, I love that album, 3 Feet High, Rising De La Soul.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. You were actually looking this time, Dave.
It's not connecting.
Uh-oh. I might say, so yeah.
And mine was going to be a Pandora.
Okay. All right. We can take that.
If it comes on, I'll play it.
All right. And
Let's see what's on.
And let's see what Chris has got on the shuffle.
So this will be an old school play, like really old school. I have no idea what it's gonna play.
My story is
Not what I
much
thought.
too sad to be told.
100-year anniversary of Frank Sinatra's death, so that's a little interesting.
It is.
Well, not his death, but he would have been 100 this
He
year.
would have been 100.
But I do love the Rat Pack, and I grew up listening to him. In
I do
my
too.
high school graduation trip, my dad took me to see Dean Martin just before he died. It was one of his last Las Vegas shows. Tipped heavily so we were in the front row. And my all-time favorite moment I've ever spent with my dad, it was watching Dean Martin
That's awesome.
play in Las Vegas.
That's awesome.
Loved it.
Yeah, and I'm a huge Rat Pack fan myself, actually. I kind of feel like, and this may be a bold statement, but Loft Party people back me up here. I kind of feel like the Loft Party is the new Rat Pack. I kind of feel like that. I'm like,
Cool.
I'm seeing cigars. I'm seeing liquor. I'm seeing pretty girl faces.
It's a lot different.
I'm kind of feeling Rat Packish.
This whole place is a throwback. I love it.
Yeah, the
So like a
location,
Rat Pack
all of it,
thing.
yeah. And I think Dave was having internet issues, but that's okay, because we're going to let We're gonna let anonymous female take some pictures. Is what we're gonna do. She thought she was gonna get away with that. Thought she was gonna
Favorite
squeak by.
concert? What's everybody's favorite
Oh.
show?
I can absolutely remember my favorite concert. I remember it was a Run DMC tour, and it's a nuts lineup. If you're a rap fan, you immediately understand why this was a completely bananas lineup. So, Run DMC, Public Enemy, Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, EPMD. Oh my goodness! Actually, I have two because the other one is a different kind of. It's not my favorite, but it has sentimental value. And I'm trying to remember the last person on that bill, but it was just an incredible show, and it was an arena show too. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I remember like Run DMC's stage, the way it was built was almost kind of like this stair stepped. It wasn't like a pyramid, but it had like 2 or 3 levels.
Were they headlining the show?
Yeah, it had 2 or 3 levels, and
it's funny how time changes.
Oh,
headlining,
yeah, who would be headlining or not? So it was 2 or 3 level stage. Jam Master Jay was at the very top, and then the second level, they would come up these stairs and they go up to the second level, run in D, and then there were elevators that actually you took them down, and they could burst through kind of the front wall, and it was just nuts. And then I remember Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. It was a huge like EQ meter, which was what Jazzy Jeff's turntable setup was sitting on, and it was a story tall, and and LL Cool J. Yeah, that was the other. And it was just like a story tall. It was so every time he'd do a scratch or the music would be playing, you watch the meters jump up and down. And I remember LL Cool J came out of a giant boom box. That was the year. It was just that tour was nuts.
That's awesome.
That tour, and that was like my first really huge show. And I just remember that one. As such fond memories, but I also remember the one and only time I got to see Biggie.
That would be good.
Yeah, that was Bad Boy was doing a tour, and it was his first Biggie's first album, and I remember.
Was it in a club?
It was in a huge club. It was actually it was a club that used to be a theater. And so they took all the seats out of the floor, and so it was huge. It probably standing room 3,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was huge. It was huge. It's called the Riviera, and I just remember Cliff Levinson's Riviera. It was, which I don't know if he still owns it or not, but I remember back in the day that you almost had to say the whole phrase, Cliff Levinson's Riviera, because Cliff Levinson used to play for the Bulls. Look him up on the Googles.
Googles.
I'm having fun talking real old. I do not remember.
I can't remember either.
Anonymous female?
I'm sorry? What were we?
Oh.
I was thinking about my favorite concert.
Cliff Levinson.
Only asking because it is about to be March Madness here this week, and
Yes.
the tournament starts on Thursday.
What are we looking for, though?
Oh, where did
Specifically?
he play college ball?
Oh. All right.
Chris, what was your favorite concert?
I'm gonna cheat and throw out 2, only because they're very different experiences. One was I was always such an REM fan growing up, just because that was the time and the school I went to and all that. It's right. That's exactly what I thought. So I grew up in
Wichita State.
I thought that's
All
what
right.
it was. He played on the same team with Xavier McDaniel and Aubrey Sherrod and all those guys.
Nice.
And,
He was the first round draft pick in '82.
Yeah, that
Yes,
was.
I do remember his
By,
first
does anybody know by who?
I thought the Bulls, but he might have been traded to the Bulls.
No, I don't think he
Pistons.
was Pistons.
To the Pistons.
No. He was selected by the Pistons.
Oh,
But
okay.
never played for him? Was traded before that?
I don't know. It doesn't say.
Huh. Because that was a hell of a. I mean, like Wichita State, they paid all those guys to go there. I mean,
Oh,
you
no,
think
he
about
played
that
for 'em
team.
for 2
Antoine
years.
Carr.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, they had
Oh.
everybody.
He played for the Pistons for 2 years. He played for the Hawks for 6 years, and then he played for the Bulls.
Oh, he was seasoned by the Bulls. All right.
Wow.
By the time he got to the Bulls,
Oh, and then he went to Greece,
It makes sense.
and then to Italy,
Just want to hang on.
and
he
then
just
to the
wants to keep.
Nuggets.
Yeah, just wants to keep. And that sounds so backwards. And then the Nuggets.
They'll take it.
You know, from $1 million a year to 100,000 a year.
He was just like, I just want to keep playing ball, y'all.
That's kind of neat, though. Wichita State retired his number
No, that's
from
cool.
there.
That is
Wichita
very cool.
State had one good year ever, so prior to last year.
With
I
him?
guess.
Yeah, that's actually very cool.
They had their ass thrown on probation after that whole thing.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that was Xavier McDaniel, who played
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
Antoine Carr, Cliff Livingston. Then you had, and I think Aubrey Sherrod was on that
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
And there was one other person. It was an amazing starting five. It was ridiculous, and they all got paid to go there. And the school was just gone after that.
So we're going into, or we're in, I guess, March Madness.
Yeah.
You guys enjoying that?
KU's the #1 overall seed. I'm enjoying everything about it.
Yeah. Haven't had a real chance. It seems like we've been having stuff to do every day. So I have not had a chance every day with this shit. But haven't had a chance to watch any games.
Did they rank KU #1?
KU's the #1 overall seed.
#1 seed.
And then I filled out my bracket today, and I have KU just on principle beating Kentucky in the final game, just for fun, just because I want to see it.
Yeah, it sounds like we had a lot of opinions today. We talked a little politics, which we didn't bash anybody, but we definitely had some opinions on some things. We talked to government and tech, and once again didn't really bash anybody, but had some opinions on some things. We actually had a pretty good shuffle today. I think everybody's song selections that popped up was actually pretty cool. I think we determined that we're very possibly the new Rat Pack.
I gotta get back to my Kanye shuffle next week.
You know what? Actually,
see what
I didn't do a shuffle this week.
You did.
Well, one, I'm recording on my phone, but two, I think the last thing I listened to actually today was Kanye's Life of Pablo album, which upon like third listen at this point, I was like, like all of the, the antics and the Twittering and all that shit. But when I just was listening to the record, I was like, actually, this album ain't that bad. I'm like, I think he just got a bad rap on it. But the album is pretty good. I was like, because I think the first couple times, I always wind up listening at work, and I think the first couple times I was kind of busy, and so I didn't really pay a real attention. But today, I was kind of problem solving, and it wasn't a lot of extra noise. Mm-hmm. So I was really, while I was trying to solve the problem, I could just hear the music, and I was like, wow, this album is kind of good. Just my 2 cents, the whole Taylor Swift thing was blown out of proportion. If you listen to the record, it's obviously a joke. And I do believe, because I have heard this in a couple of different places, that he had let Taylor hear the record.
He did.
And she had no problem with it because she knew it was a joke until, her fans started saying, I can't believe that he said this about you. Now, if that's true, I don't know. If it's not, but all I know is I heard the record. It sounded like a joke to me.
I think it's all staged.
It sounded like some stuff that you...
I think it's all...
Sounded like some stuff you say at the barbershop to your boys, and it's all jokes. And
Too far.
yeah. And with that, we're gonna let the anonymous female give us our last words. Too far.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you all for tuning in to the Loft Party Podcast. We are very, very happy to come to you with episode 2. I think we had a good podcast today, gentlemen.
Love
Lady, what do we think?
Yeah.
Loved it.
All right, everybody, raise your glasses. And as we always do about this time, to good times with good people.
Oh.
Yes.